Israel's Minister of Education and Diaspora Affairs, our partner in the Mosaic Initiative. It is our great honor to introduce Minister Naftali Bennett.
Shalom achim ve'achayot sheli. Shalom my brothers and sisters. Ani ohev etchem. I love you. Have to say I'm blown away and very excited to be here. We have such amazing people here that are doing so much to keep Netzach Israel, the eternity of the Jewish people. We have Rabbi Zaks, who has dedicated his life to strengthening the Jewish people all around the world. Aaron Wolfson and the Wolfson family. Eli Holm and the Holm family. And everyone here, really thank you so much. You know, when it said here, Jewish greatness, so I asked myself, you know, if I'm sitting here, all right, so they're telling me I have to be great, but, you know, I'm not Einstein, there's all these huge names, I'm just a Jew. And it came to my mind that I wanted to talk to you about Jewish greatness and tell you a story of my Abba, my father, Jim Bennett, who was a very modest person, not well known, not famous, but he taught me Jewish greatness. My dad, Jim Bennett, may rest in peace, he passed away 3 years ago. He grew up, and my mom as well, Myrna Bennett, they grew up in San Francisco, California. Yep. America. Back in the 50s, studied at Berkeley. So you can imagine, they grew up with almost no Jewish connection. My dad's family was in the States from the 1860s, so not even a recent European heritage. No connection. They just led their lives, got married, served in the Peace Corps, radical left-wingers. And then something happened. They heard there's this small country of the Jews called the State of Israel. And it was only 19 years old. The year is 1967. And they hear that the leader of Egypt, Nasser, has placed a siege on Israel, and that he's cooperating with Syria and Jordan, Lebanon, to annihilate this tiny little country that was just founded, only 19 years old, younger than you are now. And then they heard that the United Nations, which was there to defend Israel, pulled out and got out of the region. And Israel was running around the world. No one was there. No one. At that point, my Abba and Ima, they dropped everything. They were mesmerized. And my dad was listening to the radio, put on a map on the wall of his room, apartment was already in Boston, in Massachusetts, not Boston, in Springfield, following every movement of a place he's never been to and people he's never met. But my Abba became obsessed. What will be? And while he never prayed before, he began praying to God. to save this nation, to save this young country. And his prayers, together with many other people's prayers, were met. Israel won the greatest victory, perhaps, of the 20th century. We defeated our enemies, not from a desire to fight, but from a desire to exist. On the first airplane flight into Israel right after the war, barring the flights that were for soldiers, the first non-soldier flight, my dad and mom were on that airplane. They didn't speak Hebrew. They never davened. They were on that airplane. We want to be part of this. And they volunteered to kibbutz. You know, the first time my dad had an aliyah to the Torah in Israel, he was asked, "Ech korim lecha? What's your name?" And he said, "James." And they said, "Lo, lo, 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 lo. No, 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 no. Ech korim lecha be'ivrit? What's your Hebrew name?" He said, Jacob, Yaakov. Ben 30. My parents made aliyah to Israel. They left a very good life in America to a very tough life, I'd say, in the 60s in Israel. My dad already fought in the Yom Kippur War. My mom, it was hard for her in Israel. And between Six-Day War and the Yom Kippur War, which is in 73, she couldn't. She couldn't. It was a different culture. She couldn't stay. And she persuaded my Abba to go back to America. So in October of 1973, we were ready in San Francisco, I was a baby, 1 year old, ready to establish our new home in San Francisco. And the Yom Kippur War started. My dad got on the first flight back to Israel to fight, and he got stuck there for half a year. And we were in my grandparents' apartment, and my Abba kept on calling my mom and saying, "Come on, come back to Israel." Finally, she came, and we stayed. My parents granted me the opportunity to join Tzahal, to join the IDF. For the first time in 2,000 years, the opportunity to defend ourselves, to not ever be at the mercy of others. We have friends. America's a great friend. We have friends all around the world. But we will never, ever place our destiny in the hands of anyone else. We will always defend ourselves by ourselves. So today I'm Minister of Education and Diaspora Affairs. I'm the Minister of the Jews. I'm your minister, so you be nice to me. And I want to tell you about a development that's going on in Israel relating to you. For the first 70 years of Israel, Israel was sort of the project of the Jews. So we'd always go abroad, tell you, make aliyah or donate money to Israel. Otherwise, you're not that interesting. That's no longer the case. Israel is strong economically. We're the second largest high-tech center in the world after the Silicon Valley, even bigger than New York or Boston. Yep. Got phenomenal growth, near zero unemployment, powerful cyber, medicine, transportation, food, agriculture technologies. We're producing technologies that allow cows to produce 3 times the amount of milk in Israel than anywhere else, and now they're doing it in China using Israeli technologies. There's millions of people around the world with Israeli-produced stents in their hearts, saving their lives. There's billions of people every day driving to work with Israeli navigation technologies, and soon there will be billions of people using driving cars, autonomous cars using Israeli technology. So we're doing fine. And Israel no longer walks around asking for donations, maybe a bit, but just a bit. We are Jews after all. So, I'll tell you what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about Israel. We're doing fine. Really, on almost every parameter. Growth, technology, society, strengthening the bonds within Israel, education. Got a hell of an education minister in Israel. So it's looking good. Even our international standing is getting better. America's just recognized Jerusalem as our capital. I want all of you to go back to your leaders and tell them, come on, go do it. We know Jerusalem's our capital. It's been our capital for 3,000 years, with the world recognizing and without. But I'll tell you what I am worried about. The one thing that literally keeps me up at night. It's the future of the Jews outside of Israel. We're losing millions of Jews. This generation, if we don't act and act aggressively, forcefully, focused, we won't be able to forgive ourselves. And every Jew matters. I don't know what happened to my Abba that caused them to suddenly care, but there's something ingrained. There's this little chip in each of our hearts. Sometimes it's deactivated, but at some point it gets activated. When a Jew is hurt in Morocco, a Jew in America cares about him. It just somehow, this invisible bond, it just is. So we care about each other and we care about you. And that's why, as the minister of the Jews, we've set a goal for Israel to invest in the Jews of the world. But we got to do it together. We don't know exactly how. You guys know better. So that's why we're partnering. We're partnering with Olami, and we're partnering with anyone who's willing to dedicate himself to saving the Jews, to bringing back Jewish greatness. Last week, we had a cabinet meeting where I presented the plan, how we're going to do it, and we had full consensus. The members of the Israeli government, wall to wall, voted to approve the plan of working with the Jews of the world for Jewish greatness. And as that little video, I'm going to share it on my Facebook page, as that video showed, it's a very good one. How do we achieve it? First of all, by each of us being good, doing good, having good midot, good characteristics, working hard, caring one for another, learning our history, respecting our parents. I can say there's nothing greater than giving true respect to our parents. I urge each and every one of you, every day, call your parents once a day. Try that. It matters for them. It really does. That's the first step, being good Jews. Whether you do all the mitzvahs or not, we should all try, but whatever. It's not about if you have a yarmulke on your head or don't. It's not. It's about being a good Jew. Got to tell you a story. There was a rabbi in Jerusalem who, during the period where we had an underground against the British in Israel, he would visit the Israeli prisoners. You know what his name was? Reb Aryeh Levin. He was a very short fellow. One day he was walking in the 50s on the street, and he saw a former student of his walking towards him and suddenly noticing him and crossing the street, sort of trying to avoid him. So short Rabbi Aryeh Levin comes over and says, "Hey, come. Why are you running away from me?" So that student said, shyly, I used to have a yarmulke. I don't wear a yarmulke anymore. He was wearing IDF fatigue, IDF clothes, uniforms. Rabbi Aryeh Levin said to him this amazing thing. He said, "Look, I'm a very short Jew." He was. "My height reaches only the height of your heart. So that's all I see. I see that you have a big Jewish heart and you're defending the state of Israel. So I don't care what you have on your head or don't. I love you." So I just want to end with saying we're going to have an amazing Shabbat together. I'm excited. To prove how excited I am about this is the first time in 2.5 years that my wife let me not be at home for Shabbat to come and see you. So I want everyone to thank Gilat. And if it's good enough, next time I'll bring her along. Toda rabba. Love you. Toda rabba.